Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Fuhrman. Welcome to Vox Novus, the new voice. In 1920, author and poet Hugh Lofting penned the children's classic Dr. Doolittle. Dr. Doolittle had the ability to converse with animals, and much of what they shared with him was both charming and profound. Are there really people who have the ability to communicate with animals? Is it possible for all of us to converse with our beloved animal companions? My guest this week on Vox Novus, Julie Ulrich, is an animal communicator and healer who rediscovered her abilities when a chronic illness led her to Reiki healing. This wonderful energy also reawakened her intuitive abilities and started the conversation with animals and two-leggeds too. Her website is julieulrich.com, and she joins me this week to share her journey and what our animal friends have to say to all of us. Please join me in welcoming to Vox Novus, Julie Ulrich. Welcome, Julie.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Julie, please tell us about your path and how it led to Reiki, animal communication, and all of the other wonderful energy work that you do.
Yeah, sure. Everything really started happening for me back in 2012. At that time, I was dealing with a chronic health issue, and I had sort of exhausted all of the Western medicine options. I wasn't finding anything that was really helping. So I turned to Eastern medicine, energy work, and I got a Reiki session, which is a Japanese energy healing modality. And it made me feel fantastic. It was just wonderful. And I got a few more sessions and I loved it so much, I decided to end up studying it. And around this time that I was discovering Reiki, I actually lost an amazing animal companion. I had a wonderful cat named Willow, and she got ill suddenly and passed. And I was just completely devastated by this. I went into a deep grief. I had just this amazing bond with this cat, and I was really heartbroken when she crossed over. And so I was studying Reiki at the time, and my Reiki master teacher knew that I was grieving and suggested I get an animal communication reading. And I didn't know anything about animal communication at this point, but I thought it sounded really interesting. So I booked a reading, and this reading where the animal communicator connected with Willow on the other side, it was just so healing for me. It gave me so much comfort and so much peace, just to see how this animal communicator could connect with her. And so it really had a big impact on me, but still at that point, I had absolutely no clue that I would end up doing animal communication. It didn't occur to me at all that I would be able to do that. So a couple years after that, I was a Reiki master. I had finished my studies, become a Reiki master, decided to start my Reiki practice for people and animals. And the very first client I got was a woman who lived upstate from me, and she had 3 senior cats, and she wanted me to do Reiki for each cat on a regular basis. And you can do Reiki remotely, which is wonderful. I could send the Reiki from my location to the cat at their location. So I did a Reiki session for the first cat named Barney, and something really interesting happened. I was sending him the Reiki energy, and all of a sudden I heard, "I like plants." And I just heard this sentence, "I like plants." And I'm alone in my apartment and I'm thinking, okay, this is weird. And a moment later, I see a picture in my mind's eye of cat grass. And then I have a knowing. I just know for some reason that Barney wants his person to buy him cat grass to chew on. And so I heard something, I saw something, I knew something that I hadn't known a moment before. And it really felt like a direct message from Barney to me. So when I was studying Reiki, I, was opening up my intuition, and I use intuition in energy healing to guide me where to go with the energy. But this felt different. It felt like a direct conversation. And so I went on to do a Reiki session for Barney's sister, Betty, and his brother, Snowflake. And similar things were happening. I would receive pieces of information that felt like they were coming directly from the cats. Like Snowflake showed me a blue collar around his neck, little things like that. And so I remembered this reading I had had with this animal communicator a few years before. And I thought, I wonder if that's what's happening here. I wonder if this is animal communication. It kind of feels like what was happening in that reading. So I eventually got up the courage to tell the client, I think your cats are talking to me, and this is what they're telling me. And the client confirmed everything that I had been receiving. Snowflake had a blue collar, and Barney loved cat grass, and she needed to buy him more. And she really encouraged me to get more information from her cats. She wanted to know what they had to say. So at that point, I decided, well, I really have to study this and learn how to really do this, because, these animals really did have something to say, and they wanted me to hear them. And I started studying it and just fell in love with it, because I discovered there's so much wisdom that animals have, and we have so much to learn from them. And they constantly surprise me. And it just felt like this work opened a door to a whole new world I didn't know existed. I had access to information I didn't know I could have access to. So it was just incredible. And I'm so happy I was led to do this. So I ended up adding animal communication readings to my practice in addition to Reiki sessions. So that's how it all came together.
Now, many of us who have had adult onset intuition, any of the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, working with energy, had some type of a sense of it, maybe not completely, but had some kind of an inkling of it as children. Did you have anything when you were a child?
Yeah, I had a few instances when I was very, very young that felt like psychic and mediumship kind of experiences that really, quite honestly, scared me, because I was so young and I didn't understand it. And it didn't seem like anyone around me was experiencing that, or anything like it. So I think because I just didn't know how to handle it, I think part of me just tried to shut it down and be quote unquote normal kid. And don't know how normal I was. But what happened was, as I started to get older and into my teen years, I really became super interested in psychics and mediums, just loved anything to do with that world. And then as I got older, like 20s and 30s, I started having, once in a while, I'd have a psychic dream. And I'd just dream something unremarkable, and then that thing would happen. And so then when I told you I became ill with this chronic health issue, that's what really led me to Reiki. And then, my intuition really started opening up, and then opened up even more with studying animal communication. So I do think that when you're sensitive like that, and maybe you have chosen on some level to go on a path like this, the universe makes it happen. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No question about it. I think there's a lot of folks out there, including myself, who can identify with what you just shared. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Just about everyone has heard about Reiki, but for the few who are uncertain as to what it is, please explain this healing path.
Right. So Reiki is a Japanese energy healing modality. So it's a system of natural healing that works with the natural life force energy that runs through everything, right? So this energy runs through you and me and our animals and the trees and the desk I'm sitting at. And so as a Reiki master, you learn to channel that energy through your hands and to transfer it to your client. You can have hands on the client or hands above the body. And the purpose of it is it really supports, it's a very gentle modality that supports the flow of energy in the client's body. So just by virtue of being human and going through human stuff, sometimes our energy can get blocked or the flow can get a little off. So receiving Reiki helps your own flow of energy restore to balance. And what's wonderful about Reiki is that it can support physical and emotional issues. You can do it remotely, as I said. It's just a beautiful, gentle healing method.
Absolutely. On your website, you have a statement that says, "I'm crazy about energy." Please tell us why.
I am crazy about energy. I say that because I feel like all the magic started to happen when I studied Reiki and animal communication. And I didn't have a bad life at all before that, but I do have to compare it to, it's like living in black and white, and then all of a sudden you're living in color. There's just so much you can do with energy. And I heard a shaman say once that we have access to all. Everyone has access to all. We have access to earth energy, spiritual energy, animal wisdom, all of that magic stuff. And it's so true. And when we open ourselves up to connecting with energy and learning how to work with energy and our intuition, the possibilities are literally limitless as to what we can do, right? We can connect to loved ones on the other side. We can connect to our own wisdom. We can heal each other and ourselves. And just like I said about how, if you're meant for a certain path, the universe assists you and helps it to happen. That's part of the energetic magic that's all around us. So yeah, that's why I'm crazy about it, basically.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. Tell us, please, how does intuitive animal communication work?
Yeah, so basically it works because animals intuitively talk to each other all the time. They use intuitive communication as their natural form of communication. So if you think especially about animals in packs or herds or schools of fish or flocks of birds, they have to constantly be intuitively talking to each other, energetically connecting with each other in order to thrive and survive. So it's no different with our pets in our homes. If you have, they're animals just like animals in the wild. So they communicate that way naturally as well. So if you have more than one animal in your house, know that they are talking to each other intuitively all the time. They're also talking to us intuitively all the time because it's what they do. They also do communicate with us through their behavior because they know that will get through to us. But they just tend to be way more in tune with the energy around them and within them than humans tend to be. And again, it's by virtue of living this human life that we do. We tend to be not as sensitive. We tend to be more focused on the physical, right? And not as much the energetic.
And animals don't have the confusion that results from electronic media, social media, right. All these toys and devices that we humans have now and depend upon.
Absolutely, yeah. And so the way I look at it is that we're another species of animal, right? We're the human species. We have the same ability that they do to intuitively communicate and connect with energy. But because of what you just said, we tend to cover up that sensitivity with all these other distractions and technology and stress and anxiety and all of that stuff. So
we live in a world of noise, and because of that noise,
yeah,
we can't hear the subtle sounds.
exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
It's always amazed me and thrilled me and delighted me when I see a flock of birds flying in a V or a triangular shaped formation and how they are almost perfect in their position. That's part of that communication, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also see the coolest thing to see is, a flock of birds that are flying in what looks like a mass, but they all change direction at the same time.
Yes.
Right. And in all kinds of directions here and there. And yeah, that's you're seeing intuitive communication happen in front of you when you see that.
Absolutely. May anyone communicate or learn to communicate with animals?
Yes. So that's what I mean when I say, like, we're animals too. So we have this ability. I think that we're all, when we're born completely open and connected to energy. And then it just gets covered up when we, are growing up in this human world. But to learn how to do it is really all about uncovering that sensitivity, right? So if we can learn to clear our energy and raise our vibration, clear away all that mental clutter and find our center and come from our heart space, that's how we can learn how to start to invite an animal's energy to connect with our own and have an intuitive conversation with them. And then another thing I'll add is one thing that really does have to happen is you do need to have a respect, like a true respect for animals, for it to work, right? So if you're approaching them energetically and intuitively from a place of respect and love and gratitude, then it's absolutely going to work.
Now, in intuition and in the psychic world, there are people who are clairaudient, they hear. There are people who are clairvoyant, they see. There are people who are clairsentient, they feel. What is the level of communication like with an animal? Is it similar in nature?
Yes, absolutely. And the messages from the animals will come through to you the way you are able to receive it, right? So when I studied animal communication and I had all these other students in my class, we all experienced receiving the information kind of differently, but we were all getting the same information when we talked to the same animal together, right? So I'm primarily visual and I get knowings, like a download of information. Those are my main ones. Whereas another student in my class got it all through feeling, and feeling can be like the last way I receive it. So it just comes through the way you're naturally apt to receive it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One would think that animals would transmit in images or pictures.
Yeah, well, it can happen in any any form. I know someone who receives like a visual of a word, like not even hearing it, but like literally seeing the word spelled out. So it's really going to come through however is easiest for you to receive it.
Is there a type of energetic or intuitive lexicon or dictionary where the animal transmits the message and it's processed and then comes to us in a way that we can understand?
I do. I believe that that's actually what happens. But see, they can also read our energy and know what's going to resonate with us, they're going to know how to send the message that in a way that we'll understand. And I will say that sometimes, a lot of times actually, I'll be doing a reading and the animal will be telling me something that I 100% understand. And then I go to tell the client and I'm like, wait a minute, I have to figure out how to put this into words because it feels like a download into me that's not necessarily in words. And I don't know how to explain that any other way. But it takes me a minute to put it into words. And sometimes I actually go to the animal and say, what are the best words for me to put this in for your person to understand it?
Is eye contact for you part of the process?
No, actually, I do most of my readings on the phone, and I prefer to do it that way because, and I don't even want to see a picture of the animal because I don't want anything feeding my conscious mind that might conjure an assumption. Oh, you have a dachshund. I know things about dachshunds, so that's going to already inform me, right?
Right.
I want a blank slate. So you know that all the information I'm receiving is purely intuitive coming from your animal.
My
Yeah.
guest is Julie Ulrich, animal communicator, Reiki master healer. Julie, please tell our listeners where they can find more about you and this amazing work that you do.
Sure. My website is julieulrich.com. And that's where you can find all of the services that I offer, Reiki sessions and readings. All of them are for people and for animals. And you can also message me through my website.
And she also has a series of amazing blogs on all of these wonderful topics. They're wonderful reads. Definitely go to her website. We'll be back with more of Julie after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Julie Ulrich. We're talking about energy and animal communication. What is soul-level animal communication, Julie?
So I was trained in soul level animal communication. And what it means is basically you can talk to an animal on two different levels. You can talk to them on the 3D level, where you can ask them about how do they feel about the other animal in the house, or how do they feel about their food, or what's their favorite thing to do. And you can go to a deeper level with them where you talk about what they're helping their person with. So just like how people come into our lives and help us learn things and experience things and grow, it's the same deal with animals. They come in and help us experience things and learn and grow. So And again, like I said, they're so tuned into the energy around them. That means they're so tuned into our energy as well. And they can read our energy, and they can sense where we might be out of balance. And they know how to bring our awareness to that and lead us to maybe shift, to become more in balance, to become happier, more at peace, more centered. So I can give you an example of a reading I did for a woman who told me her dog would get aggressive when people came to the front door. And she didn't understand why. And so I asked the dog to talk about when people come to the door, like what are you feeling? What's happening? I'll never ask an animal something that's judgmental. Like I'll never say, why are you being so aggressive when people come to the door? You always want to come with love and respect. Just tell me about what's happening when people come to the house. And the dog's answer to me was that the person had a protective energy around her. Like she had sort of a guard up. And so when I told her, this is what your dog is talking about, she admitted that that was true. She had just gone through a divorce. She felt betrayed by her ex-partner. She felt betrayed by many people in her life. And she said, I am protective. I'm very careful about who I let in. Well, here is her dog, matching that energy, but also like on another level, bringing her attention to it so she can look at it, right? They'll often amp up a behavior that we can't miss so we can look at it. And just the fact that he brought this up in the reading, and that now we're talking about it, and now she can have an awareness around it, that itself will start a natural shift, right? Because now she's conscious of it, and she can actually start looking at it and kind of going deeper and examining it, and maybe figure out how to shift her energy. And so that's what I mean by like this soul level information that they share can take the reading, into a deep place, sometimes deeper than the client expects it to go. But that's what's so, we talked about how I'm crazy about energy. This is one of the reasons that you can connect in with an animal and learn so much about yourself and learn how to be healthier and more balanced.
Animals become special teachers for us, and they mirror those things that we need to see and know. Are there other lessons that come up frequently between our animal teacher companions and us?
Yeah, there are a few that are kind of universal that animals talk about a lot. And so one is that they always want us to be more present. We talked about how it's easy to get distracted with technology and responsibility and working hard and all of that stuff. They just want us to be in the present because they know that that's the healthiest place for us to be. So I did a reading one time for a man who he worked from home, and he would get very busy in the afternoon working at his desk. And he told me, he said, my dog comes and gets me and wants me to let him out into the backyard. So I think the dog needs to do his business. So I let him out, but all he does is he goes out there and he rolls around in the grass. And I'm like, what? You interrupted my work so I could just let you out for you to roll in the grass. You don't even have to do your business. So I talked to the dog about this, and the dog just starts saying, he gets really stressed out. The person gets stressed out when he gets so busy in the afternoons, and he needs a break. I want him to have a break. I want him to come outside. Of course, the dog loves going outside and rolling in the grass, but he's acknowledging how important this is for his person to get up from his desk, come out in the backyard, and be present, right? And the other thing closely related to this is they always want us to find joy, right? They want us to connect with joy. So like when I see my own cats playing, it's such pure joy. They're not self-conscious. They look incredibly silly, but they don't care. They feel like playing and they play. And I feel like animals a lot of times try to remind us of that, how important play is to our health and our balance. And one of the best examples I have of this is one time I went on a trip to the Bahamas to swim with wild dolphins in the open sea. And every day for 5 days, we'd go out on a boat, like an hour or two out from the coast. And we would wait for a pod of dolphins to come to the boat. And every day they showed up, and every day we got in the water with them. And these dolphins played right with us, swam all around us. Sometimes they would dive deep, and the water's so clear you could see everything. They would dive deep and they'd show us how they frolicked down there and how they played, and they really engaged with us. And it was such a pure lesson of this is what joy looks like. Yeah. This is what play looks like. And the other message that I get a lot from animals has to do with this dolphin experience is unconditional love and acceptance. So animals come into this world already masters of unconditional love, right? They don't don't hold a grudge against us or like think about, why did my person come home late last night? That's not fair. They don't concentrate on stuff like that. They love us no matter what. And I was so blown away by the dolphins who were so accepting of humans who don't belong in the ocean. The ocean is the dolphins' home, but they were psyched to see us, hey, there's humans here and they want to play. Come on in. We'll show you how to play.
That's wonderful.
That's like the ultimate love and acceptance right there.
The ultimate hospitality, what we all should be doing, what humans should be doing for one another. Really, it's just amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. Are there animals that are soulmates to us, like join us again lifetime after lifetime?
Oh, I 100% believe in that. Yeah. I've done readings for people who've asked that question. And when I ask their animals, they show me that they've been with this person in a past life. And yeah, I totally believe that. It's like what I was saying about how they come into our lives to help us and teach us and help us work on stuff. It kind of makes sense that it might take a few lifetimes to work on what they're helping us with. Yeah,
absolutely. People often grieve the loss of an animal companion with the same intensity that they mourn for a human family member or a dear friend, and sometimes even more. Is it possible to communicate across the rainbow bridge?
Yes, 100%. Like I was saying in the beginning, when I had that reading, before I even studied animal communication, and this animal communicator connected with my cat Willow, on the other side, it was so incredibly healing. And I am so humbled and happy that I can do that for my clients who are grieving, because I've been there. I've been to that rock bottom grief over a beloved animal, and I know what it's like. And I just love being able to connect with an animal on the other side and bring through messages that show that the animal's still with their person. They're still very much here. They're just in a different energetic state, right? And they're still sending love, and they're still supporting, and they're still helping. So I can give you an example of one where I did a reading for a woman who was grieving her dog on the other side, and she just desperately wanted to know if her dog was okay and where she was on the other side. So when I asked her dog, just talk about how you're doing on the other side, the dog showed me showed me herself twirling, wearing a tutu, like twirling on her hind legs in a pink tutu. And the message, the feeling she gave me was such joy. And just like, I know this dog is 100% okay because she's dancing in a tutu, right? So I tell the client, this is what she's showing me. She's twirling around in a tutu and she's so happy and she's so okay. Please know that she is doing great. And a week later, the client emailed me and told me that she had just gone on a walk and she ran into a woman who was walking a dog wearing a tutu. And the dog was the identical breed, looked identical to my client's dog on the other side. And the woman with the dog asked my client, do you want to pick her up? You can pick her up and hold her. So my client picked her up, was holding this dog in a tutu. And she said, I just felt all this love pour into my heart. I knew it was coming from my dog on the other side. I know she's okay. I know she's with me. And it was just the best case scenario for that type of reading where the dog on the other side like sent this message that literally, drove the point home straight to the heart of the client. It's just amazing the signs that they can provide for us to let us know they're still there and they're still connected.
I used to work with paranormal teams here in the New York area. And one time we went to this woman's house and she had many, many cats who had crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And she just smiled when we got there and said, just have a seat. You'll know what's happening in a minute. And within a minute of sitting down, I feel cats in spirit rubbing against my legs. And it was the most amazing sensation. It felt like there was a physical cat actually there rubbing up against my leg. And this went on for like 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And then they sort of vanished, the energy back. And I said, they're all gone. She says, no, they're just having a snack right now.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
But absolutely, that energy, that residual energy of their presence is absolutely there. So thank you for sharing that. It's a beautiful story. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and rarely had an opportunity to be up close with horses. Several years ago, I visited a ranch and was able to come face to face with an absolutely gorgeous horse. We made eye contact, and I brought my face close to his. He moved his head down and we were touching face to face, forehead to forehead. And it was an amazing experience. I'll never forget that. And also looking into that horse's eyes, there was just such wisdom there, literally ancient wisdom, beautiful ancient wisdom. Please tell us about what working with horses has shown you and your amazing experiences in soul level workshops with horses in Costa Rica.
Yeah. I don't even know how to explain how special horses are. They are so connected, so sensitive. They're absolutely amazing. I had the opportunity to go to a workshop in Costa Rica for 2 years in a row and do soul level work with horses. And what happened in this workshop was the first day, the horse picks the person he wants to work with for the week. So you literally get chosen by a horse. And I've never been so honored in my entire life than to be chosen by a horse. But what they do is they read your energy and they determine whether they can be of, deep help to you. It's really, these workshops are like the horse was your therapist for a week. And so the first time I went, a horse named Mr. Big chose me. And I have so many stories about working with Mr. Big, but my favorite one is it was the second day of the workshop. It was the end of the day. And we were all in an arena, all of us humans. We were sitting in a circle on chairs in the center of the arena. And our horse partners were just wherever they wanted to hang out throughout the arena. And Mr. Big was way on the end by the railing, hanging out with a couple other horses. And we were discussing in our circle our experiences with our horses that day. And the woman next to me was talking about unconditional love and how her horse was showing her that and how much she was learning about it. And as she was talking about that, I started to think about how much I loved Mr. Big. And I had only met him the day before, but I felt so much love for this horse. And on our first day of the workshop, we had been taken through an orientation that instructed us on how to physically approach your horse with respect to their energy. So you didn't want to sneak up behind them in their blind spot, or you didn't want to, rush towards them or anything. You always wanted to come to them with gentle energy and respect. And so I was sitting there thinking, I love him so much. I wonder how he would feel if I just hugged and kissed him, like spontaneously, knowing that we were instructed to be careful with how we approach them. And as soon as I had that thought, I wonder what he would do if I just hugged and kissed him. Mr. Big came from across the arena, made sort of like a beeline straight for me, walked right up to me, planted his mouth on top of my head, just like a kiss, like planted a kiss and walked away.
Oh.
And one of the teachers of our workshop at that point was like, whoa, stop the discussion. I just have to ask Julie, what was going on with you in that moment that made Mr. Big walk across the arena, kiss you on the head and walk away? And I was like, I was just wondering if he would be okay if I kissed and hugged him, right? So here is Mr. Big, my partner, across the arena. We have an energetic connection because we're partners, and he's constantly connected to my energy. He constantly knows what's going on. Our thoughts are energy, right? Energy carries information. He's reading it. Oh, let me go answer her right now.
Wonderful.
And show her that, yes, spontaneous affection is good. So
what a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was really touching. My guest is Julie Ulrich, animal communicator, Reiki master healer, intuitive, everything. She's just wonderful. We'll be back with more of Julie after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Okay, men, time to be an all-star caregiver. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, be there emotionally and physically. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Julie Ulrich. We're talking about animal communication. Julie, do you have day-to-day communication with your own animal companions?
I do, and most of it happens when I'm not even trying. And I'm not saying that to be bragging, like I'm such a good animal communicator. It's just the way the energy works, just like how I described about the horse. Mr. Big just is in the same space with me and knows what I'm thinking. That's what happens with my cats. So for example, one day I I looked down from my desk at this box that I'd had on the floor next to my desk for a long time because my one cat loves to get in it and sleep in it. Well, I looked down at this box and I thought, he hasn't gotten in this box in forever, like for over a month, probably. I should probably just recycle this box. I'll do that later today. 15 minutes later, my cat comes in, gets in the box, curls up and goes to sleep. He hasn't been in it in over a month. But I had that thought and he received that information and he gave me his answer. You are not getting rid of this box. I still like it. I still want it. So things like that happen all the time with my cats. But I'm also able to, if they're like doing something that puzzles me, then I can take the time to sit down and intuitively connect and see what's going on. So the same cat, sometimes he likes to push his water dish all across the kitchen floor and splash water everywhere. So I thought, that's interesting. Let me ask him what's going on when he does that. And his answer was, I really like to watch water move. And this is how I play. This is how I like to play. The other part of that was everybody's busy doing other things and not playing with me so it's true. Like whenever he does it, and my boyfriend and I are both busy at work at our respective desks, and then we hear the bowl go across the floor, right? So, but it's great to receive information like that, because then I can be more conscious of, let me just play with him for a little bit, when I have a second, and make sure he gets his playtime in with me. And so you can determine little things like that.
What is it like to have an intuitive animal communication reading with you? And what makes an ideal client for this work?
Yeah. So like I had mentioned, I do most readings on the phone. I think the energy works great that way. I love knowing as little as possible going in to the reading so that you can know every piece of information I'm giving you is coming from your animal, not from my brain. And so the first thing I do is I connect in with the person's energy, because their energy is connected to their animal's energy. So I do a little mini reading of the person and I tell them what's coming through when I'm connecting in with their energy. And then when it's time to bring in their animal, I just ask them to tell me the name, gender, and type of animal, like cat, dog, horse, turtle. And then I take a moment and I invite their animal's energy in. I always introduce myself to the animal. I ask permission to talk, because that's just the respectful way to approach their energy. And then what they do is they usually show me, they always give me permission, first of all. Like animals are pretty excited in general when a person goes to connect with them intuitively. So they'll usually show me something about their personality and something about what they like in their life, what they like to do. And I pass that information on to their person. And I tell them whatever their animal is showing me. And then their person can ask any question they want of their animal. And I relay the answers straight from their animal.
And do the clients have the opportunity to ask lots of questions?
Yeah, there's always room in the reading to ask lots of questions. And I always email the person ahead of time to tell them, it's best to just think up some questions before the reading, so you have some in mind, so you don't have to think them all up on the spot. So I encourage clients to come up with a list of questions that they want to ask their animal. And I try my best to get to all of them.
Have any animals ever shared something that surprised you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get surprised all the time by animals. I think most recently it was a reading I did with a rabbit, and the rabbit told me that he liked to do people things, and he liked to do things that people like to do, and he liked to do people things with his people. And I was like, wow, this sounds really interesting. So I told his person, your rabbit's telling me he likes to do people stuff with you. And she said, oh yeah, he likes to sit with me every morning while I drink my coffee. And I like to just, sit in this calm space to start my day. And he totally has to be in on that routine with me every morning, and he gets calm with me. And then she said, we also take him for rides in the car. She said, I always felt like he liked that. So we take him for rides in the car. And while she's telling me about that, the rabbit, tells me, oh, they have a really cool car. I really like their car. It's super special. So I'm like, since when would you ever imagine a rabbit saying, I really like this car and I have an appreciation for cars? So I tell the woman, he's saying that he really likes your car and it's special. And she said, oh yes, we have a vintage car and we take it to car shows. So, and I have to say, this wasn't about an animal wanting to be like a person or wanting to be a person, because all animals are so happy with who they are. No animal wants to be a person. But the fact that he came through with this message was so great, because now it confirms that he loves the car rides, right? It confirms, it clarifies that he likes to do what people do. So now they can explore, well, what else would you want to do with them? Would you want to watch TV with them? Would you want to go for a walk with them? Like they can just deepen their connection with him. They have a deeper understanding of him now. And that one was super surprising to me, because I never imagined a rabbit saying, I like to sit with my person while she drinks coffee and I like to ride in the vintage car.
But it didn't say, what's up, Doc, right?
No, it did not.
Did the animals you communicate with ever express concern about the state of our world? And if so, what advice would they offer their humans?
So pets who I talk to don't usually go there, because it's more about their work with their person, right? Their life with their person. But I have connected with wild animals from time to time, and they're the ones who do express concern for the state of the world. They usually express that they wish humans would acknowledge them more and see them and try to understand them more and take care of the planet better.
Yeah.
And it's never, these messages are never, oh, humans are awful, I don't like humans. It's not like that. It's not that energy. It's an energy of compassion, there's disappointment. But basically, like I was saying, animals are masters of unconditional love. So it's always coming from a loving place, but they definitely get disappointed.
You also do soul level reading with two-leggeds. Tell us what it's like for us human folks.
Yeah. So it's sort of like expanding on the beginning of an animal communication reading, where I connect in with the person's energy. So that's what I do in a reading for a person only. I connect into your energy. I tell you what information's coming through. I also invite in your highest spirit guides to join us and ask them to show us anything that we need to know. And then again, the person can ask any questions that they have about their own current situation, life situation. The point of those readings is really it's kind of like how the animal will talk about where we're out of balance and where we can shift to be more in balance. That's the kind of information that will come through in that reading.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. What message would you like to share with all of our listeners about this wonderful work that you do?
Oh, thank you. I think the thing that I've learned the most from this work is that just like I've said, the incredible wisdom that is available to us when we take the time to connect with animals. They will surprise us every time. And also when you learn to just work with your own energy, the answers that are within you are amazing, that you never knew were there. So I just encourage everyone to explore the magic that I've been able to explore when it comes to working with energy and working with animals.
Her name is Julie Ulrich, and you can tell by the context of this interview that she is an amazing woman, an amazing healer, and an amazing animal communicator. Julie, please tell our listeners one more time how they can find out more about you and the services you offer.
Sure. My website is julieulrich.com, and you'll find everything there. You can read about me and my work. You can book a service. You can book a Reiki session or a reading for animals or people. And you can send me a message through there if you have any questions.
And again, she has an amazing spiritual blog out there with every type of topic you can think of and some beautiful, beautiful writing. When are you coming out with your first book?
Ooh, I'm actually working on one.
Ah.
Yeah.
A little birdie told me.
Yeah, I have no idea when it will come out because I'm working on the first draft now, but it's going to be about all the experiences I've had with animals and everything we can learn from them.
Wonderful. When you have the book ready, you got to come back on. Julie Ulrich, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on Vox Novus. I'm Victor, the Voice Fuhrman. Have a wonderful week.